In a society where relationships have become increasingly disposable and human interactions more digitalized, many men seek ways to create genuine, memorable connections. Imagine developing a presence so significant in someone's life that your absence is immediately noticed and valued. Not through psychological games or emotional manipulation, but because of the genuine value your presence adds. Stoic philosophy, developed over 2,000 years ago, offers principles surprisingly applicable to modern relationships. Stoicism isn't just an ancient philosophical school. It's a practical path to developing inner strength, mental clarity, and personal virtue. When adapted to the context of today's relationships, these principles create the ideal conditions to spark genuine, lasting interest in you. Unlike superficial seduction techniques that promise immediate results but fail to create authentic connections, the Stoic approach is founded on true personal development. You become magnetically attractive not through tricks or artifice, but by cultivating inner qualities that naturally inspire admiration and interest. Think of the great Stoics like Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, or Epictetus. These men didn't seek to please others or manipulate perceptions. They dedicated their lives to developing character, virtue, and inner wisdom. And paradoxically, this internal quest made them figures of profound influence and admiration even today. The first and most fundamental pillar of this philosophy applied to relationships is emotional self-sufficiency. The Stoics taught that true happiness can never depend on external factors, but rather on our internal attitude towards life's circumstances. When you cultivate this emotional independence, you automatically become more attractive by not showing neediness or clinginess. Observe how people are naturally drawn to those who seem complete in themselves. There's an intriguing paradox in human relationships. The less you emotionally need someone, the more that person tends to be attracted to you. This doesn't mean becoming cold or distant, but rather developing a solid, independent emotional foundation. In practice, developing emotional self-sufficiency means building a full and meaningful life independent of romantic relationships. Ask yourself, do you have deep, meaningful friendships that nurture different aspects of your personality? Do you cultivate interests and passions that make you lose track of time? Do you constantly seek professional and intellectual growth? Do you maintain commitments to your physical and spiritual development? When you create this fullness in different areas of your life, you naturally develop a magnetism that draws people into your orbit. They perceive, even if unconsciously, that you add value to their lives rather than seeking fulfillment through them. This is a crucial difference that separates men who naturally spark interest from those who always seem to be seeking external validation. Recall times when you met someone with a life rich in experiences, knowledge, and connections. You probably felt curiosity and a desire to be part of their world. Now, compare that with people who seem to pin all their hopes and expectations on new relationships. The difference is stark, isn't it? The first sparks curiosity, the second often causes discomfort or even pushes people away. Developing emotional self-sufficiency requires daily practice and constant awareness. Start by identifying areas of your life where you seek excessive external validation. Perhaps it's at work, on social media, or in past relationships. Recognize these patterns and develop practices that strengthen your emotional autonomy. Daily meditation, even for just 10 minutes, helps create space between external stimuli and your emotional responses. Journaling, especially during moments of emotional turmoil, allows you to identify dependencies and consciously work to overcome them. Practicing daily gratitude for aspects of your life that don't depend on romantic relationships strengthens your foundation of internal satisfaction. The second fundamental principle of this Stoic approach is the calculated moderation of presence. Stoic philosophers deeply understood that excess in any area of life inevitably creates imbalance. From a psychological standpoint, we know today that controlled scarcity significantly increases the perceived value of anything, whether it's a material good, an experience, or someone's presence. This principle, when applied ethically in relationships, means understanding that being constantly available can, unintentionally, diminish your value in the other person's eyes. Not because of any fault of yours, but simply due to the human tendency to value less what is always accessible. As Seneca said, just as fire shines brightest in the darkness, so virtue shines clearest in absence. In daily practice, this moderation of presence manifests by naturally balancing moments of deep connection and total presence with equally natural periods of absence. Note well, we are not talking about artificially creating distance or giving the cold shoulder as manipulative tactics. These approaches, besides being unethical, reveal insecurity and produce only superficial, temporary results. What I propose is genuinely having commitments, responsibilities, and interests that legitimately occupy your time and attention. When you are with someone, be truly present, without distractions, without constantly checking your phone, without scattered thoughts. And when you are dedicated to other areas of your life, allow yourself that immersion with the same intensity. This dynamic naturally creates a healthy cycle where shared moments are more intensely valued precisely because they are not constant. Think about how you savor a meal more intensely when you are truly hungry, compared to eating out of habit or boredom. The same principle applies to significant human interactions. There are practical ways to implement this principle without falling into the trap of manipulation. Develop a rich and varied routine that genuinely fills your time with meaningful activities. Regularly practice a sport or physical activity that demands total focus. Dedicate yourself to professional or personal projects that truly matter to you. Cultivate deep friendships that deserve quality time and attention. By doing this, you naturally create spaces in your schedule where your absence will be noticed, not because you strategically planned to disappear, but because you are legitimately involved in other important aspects of your life. This authenticity is precisely what makes this Stoic approach so powerful. It is not a technique, but a lifestyle. The third element of this applied philosophy is what I call structured unpredictability. Neuroscientific studies confirm something. The Stoics already intuited. The human brain is wired to seek novelty and solve challenges. Complete predictability, while comfortable, rarely sustains interest or sparks lasting desire. Marcus Aurelius observed that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When your interactions always follow the same patterns, they become part of the habitual fabric of the other person's experience, comfortable perhaps, but rarely memorable. By introducing elements of positive surprise and variety into interactions, you activate brain reward centers that strengthen the emotional bond. This structured unpredictability can manifest in various ways. Through conversations that explore unexpected topics or original perspectives, through shared experiences that break from the established routine, or even through demonstrations of versatility and depth that reveal new facets of your personality the other person didn't yet know. It's important to emphasize that this principle does not suggest being inconsistent in fundamental values, promises, or commitments. The structure that underlies unpredictability is precisely your unwavering principles and personal integrity. It is from this solid foundation that you can explore variations that keep the relationship dynamic, vibrant, and stimulating. In practice, this means developing genuine curiosity about different areas of knowledge, regularly cultivating new skills, and seeking experiences that expand your horizons. When you constantly enrich your inner world, you naturally bring new elements into your interactions, creating that sense of continuous discovery that keeps interest alive. Ask yourself, when was the last time you positively surprised someone close to you? Not with material gifts, but with unexpected ideas, perspectives, or attitudes. If it's been a while, perhaps it's time to break established patterns and bring new energy into your interactions. There is a delicate balance to be found here. Too much unpredictability can create anxiety and insecurity. Excessive predictability leads to boredom and disinterest. The sweet spot lies in maintaining a reliable base of behaviors that generate emotional security, while periodically introducing new elements that spark curiosity and renew interest. The fourth Stoic principle applicable to developing a memorable presence is attraction through purpose. The Stoics deeply valued living with a clear purpose aligned with high values. This commitment to goals larger than oneself naturally inspires admiration and respect. Epictetus taught, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This clarity of purpose, this defined vision of the man you are becoming, exerts a magnetic power over others. When a woman perceives that you are genuinely committed to a significant mission, whether professional, creative, social, or spiritual, this inevitably sparks curiosity and respect. A man dedicated to causes greater than his immediate desires and comforts demonstrates discipline, strength of character, and long-term vision, qualities closely linked to stability, reliability, and leadership ability. This commitment to higher purposes creates not only admiration, but also an attractive form of mystery about his journey and deep motivations. To implement this principle in practice, dedicate time to clarifying your core values and identifying larger causes that truly resonate with your essence. It's not about adopting causes to impress others, but authentically connecting with missions that give meaning to your existence. This could range from a commitment to excellence in your professional field to involvement in social or environmental causes that transcend personal interests. Communicate your values and purposes not through grandiose declarations, but through the consistency of your daily actions. People quickly distinguish between authentic commitments and postures adopted to create impressions. The consistency between words and actions, especially when no one is watching, is the true test of your integrity and commitment. Paradoxically, the more you dedicate yourself to purposes that transcend romantic relationships, the more naturally attractive you become within the context of those relationships. This occurs because purpose generates passion, and few traits are as universally attractive as authentic passion for significant causes. The fifth essential element of this philosophy is mastering dynamic emotional tension. The Stoics understood that balanced, consciously managed emotions are infinitely more powerful than reactive emotional outbursts. In relationships, this translates to the ability to create and sustain healthy emotional tension, that psychological space where curiosity, desire, and anticipation are born. This dynamic emotional tension is established when you skillfully combine moments of deep emotional intimacy with natural periods of autonomy and independence. The rhythmic alternation between closeness and space creates an emotional pulse that keeps interest alive and desire renewed. For this principle to work authentically, it is crucial to develop high emotional intelligence to perceive when to intensify the connection and when to allow space for reflection and, yes, for missing someone. This sensitivity cannot be reduced to formulas or timelines. It requires conscious presence and an accurate reading of relational dynamics in each moment. In daily practice, this means developing the ability to be fully present during shared moments, offering deep attention and genuine emotional connection, and then naturally allowing moments of separation where each person returns to their individual activities and personal commitments. It is important to emphasize that, unlike the manipulative attraction techniques abundant online, this Stoic approach stresses that absence should be natural and authentic, resulting from a genuinely fulfilling life, not a deliberate strategy to induce insecurity or anxiety. The goal is never to control or manipulate others' emotions, but to develop oneself as a complete individual who naturally sparks interest and admiration. Think of it as the breathing of a healthy relationship. There are natural moments of inhalation, closeness, and exhalation, space. Without this rhythmic alternation, both constant proximity and permanent distance lead to imbalance. It is precisely this rhythm that creates the conditions for the other person to naturally miss you during moments of separation. Now let's delve deeper into each of these principles with practical, specific examples you can implement immediately in your life. To develop emotional self-sufficiency, start by honestly assessing your current level of independence. Do you feel anxious or insecure when you don't receive constant external validation? Do you tend to seek excessive approval for your decisions? Does your mood fluctuate drastically depending on others' reactions? Identify specific areas where you can strengthen your emotional autonomy. Establish a daily meditation practice focused on non-judgmental self-observation. Start with just 5 minutes and gradually increase. This simple practice creates space between external stimuli and your responses, allowing for more conscious choices. Develop the habit of making small daily decisions based solely on your internal judgment, without seeking approval. Start with low-impact choices and gradually apply this autonomy to more significant decisions. Actively cultivate different sources of satisfaction and meaning. Diversify your activities, relationships, and interests so that your sense of worth and purpose doesn't depend excessively on any single source. Like a wise investor diversifying their portfolio, you should diversify your sources of satisfaction and meaning. Regularly practice being comfortable alone with your own thoughts, without constant distractions. This strengthens your ability to generate well-being internally, instead of constantly depending on external stimuli. When you feel impulses to seek excessive validation, apply the Stoic exercise of negative visualization. Temporarily imagine yourself without that external source of validation and mentally explore how you could find strength and stability, even in that scenario. This exercise strengthens your emotional resilience. To implement the principle of calculated moderation of presence, consciously develop a rich routine that distributes your time and energy among different important areas. Dedicate specific blocks of time for professional development, cultivating meaningful friendships, practicing hobbies and physical activities, in addition to romantic relationships. Practice what the Stoics called mindfulness. When you're with someone, be completely present, without digital or mental distractions. This quality of presence significantly intensifies the impact of shared moments, creating vivid memories that linger during natural periods of separation. Establish healthy boundaries for your digital availability. In an era where constant availability is expected, having set periods where you are disconnected and focused on specific activities not only increases your productivity, but also creates a natural sense of value around your attention and time. Cultivate significant commitments that naturally occupy your time: side projects, volunteering, learning new skills. The key here is that these commitments are genuinely important to you, not just ways to appear busy. Clearly communicate your priorities and commitments without needing excessive justifications. The way you talk about your time says a lot about how you value it. Compare, "Sorry, I can't see you today," versus, "I have my workout tonight, but I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow." To cultivate structured unpredictability, develop the habit of regularly introducing new elements into your interactions. Surprise her with knowledge or skills you don't normally display. Propose experiences that break the established pattern, but still resonate with shared interests. Cultivate genuine curiosity about diverse topics and always be expanding your horizons. Read outside your comfort zone, explore different perspectives, connect with people from varied backgrounds. This internal diversity naturally manifests in richer, more unpredictable conversations and interactions. Develop what the Stoics called voluntary attention, the ability to notice details, nuances, and opportunities that most people overlook. This sharp attention allows you to identify ideal moments to introduce unexpected elements that renew interest and connection. Carefully balance comforting familiarity with stimulating novelty. Every healthy relationship needs a foundation of predictability that generates security, combined with elements of discovery that maintain vitality. Find your personal balance between these two poles. To implement the principle of attraction through purpose, dedicate serious time to identifying what truly matters to you in the long run. What values are non-negotiable? What kind of impact do you want to have? What legacy do you intend to leave? These are not trivial questions. They require deep reflection and periodic review. Develop personal projects aligned with these core values. It could be a professional venture, an artistic expression, a commitment to a social cause, or any endeavor that channels your skills towards purposes greater than immediate gratification. Naturally share these commitments not as attempts to impress, but as genuine expressions of your essence. When you talk about your passions and purposes, allow your natural enthusiasm to manifest without artificiality or exaggeration. Connect your daily efforts with your larger vision. The Stoics practiced what they called the view from above, the ability to see everyday actions in the perspective of larger purposes. This connection between the immediate and the transcendent creates an aura of depth that naturally intrigues and attracts. To develop mastery in dynamic emotional tension, hone your emotional intelligence through honest self-analysis and feedback from others. Develop a rich emotional vocabulary and the ability to identify subtle emotions, both your own and others. Practice the art of calibrated vulnerability, the ability to reveal deeper, authentic aspects of yourself at the appropriate time. This controlled openness creates intimacy without dependence and connection without emotional fusion. Develop sensitivity to the natural cycles of closeness and space in human relationships. Just as there are seasons in nature, there are also natural rhythms of intensity and space in human connections. Learning to flow with these rhythms rather than resisting them is a fundamental relationship skill. Cultivate what the Stoics called detachment with love, the paradoxical ability to care deeply for someone while maintaining awareness of each individual's fundamental autonomy. This balance creates relationships where closeness and freedom coexist harmoniously. Now integrate these 5 principles into a coherent practice. Understand that these are not isolated techniques, but interconnected elements of authentic personal development based on Stoic wisdom. Emotional self-sufficiency grounds the natural, moderation of presence, which in turn creates conditions for structured unpredictability, all sustained by clear purpose and managed with emotional intelligence. Always remember, the goal of this approach is not to manipulate others' emotions, but to develop a character and presence so significant that your absence is naturally felt. As Epictetus taught, first learn the meaning of what you say and then speak. Similarly, first develop authentic inner qualities and then allow them to naturally shape your relationships. This Stoic approach is radically different from the superficial attraction formulas proliferating online. While those promote manipulative techniques aiming for quick results at the expense of genuine connections, Stoic philosophy offers a path of integral development that naturally intensifies your presence in others' lives. The results of this authentic personal development manifest gradually, but they are incomparably deeper and more lasting. People don't just miss you momentarily, they genuinely value your presence because they recognize the real value you bring to their lives. It is important to emphasize that this approach works precisely because it is not a technique applied to obtain specific results, but a path of integral development that naturally produces these results as a consequence. The right intention makes all the difference, developing yourself as a complete man versus manipulating perceptions to create emotional attachment. As Marcus Aurelius said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Likewise, the quality of your presence in someone special's life depends on your authentic inner development. There are no shortcuts or magic techniques that replace consistent self-development work. As you implement these principles, observe how your interactions naturally transform. Notice how your perceived value increases not through artificial strategies, but because you have genuinely become someone who adds significant value. Perceive how people naturally seek your presence and feel your absence, not out of emotional dependence, but out of genuine appreciation. Remember that the ultimate goal is not simply to be valued or desired, but to develop yourself as a complete man who naturally creates a positive and lasting impact. As Seneca taught, no man can live happily who regards himself alone, who turns everything to his own advantage. You must live for the other if you wish to live for yourself. This higher perspective completely transforms the dynamic. Instead of seeking techniques to make someone miss you, you develop qualities that naturally make you a valued and memorable presence. The difference seems subtle, but it is fundamentally transformative. Implement these principles with patience and consistency. Stoic philosophers understood that true transformations never happen overnight. They are the result of seemingly small daily practices, sustained with discipline over time. As Epictetus said, no great thing is created suddenly. This journey of personal development based on Stoic philosophy offers much more than techniques for sparking romantic interest. It provides a path to a fuller, more meaningful life aligned with high values, a life where your relationships naturally become deeper and more significant as a reflection of your inner growth. In the end, you will discover that the true secret method was never about specific techniques to make someone miss you, but about becoming someone whose presence adds so much value that their absence is naturally noticed and valued. Like the great men of history who studied and lived by Stoic principles, You will leave a lasting impression not by seeking it directly, but by living with purpose, virtue, and wisdom. True mastery in relationships, as in any area of life, comes not from manipulating external circumstances, but from developing internal excellence. This is the essence of Stoic philosophy applied to modern relationships. Cultivating a character so remarkable that your presence becomes a privilege, not a necessity, a gift, not an obligation. Start today, not expecting immediate results, but committing to the path of personal development that will inevitably transform the quality of your presence and the impact you have on others' lives. As Marcus Aurelius said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." Similarly, in relationships, the real risk is not in not being desired, but in never having developed the qualities that naturally spark genuine and lasting interest. Stoic philosophy offers precisely this path, not a set of techniques to manipulate perceptions, but a profound method of personal transformation that naturally elevates your presence and value in the eyes of those who truly matter. This is the true secret method that has stood the test of time, becoming someone whose absence is naturally felt because their presence is genuinely valued.